The sun rose gently over the forest, casting golden light through the ancient trees surrounding the monastery. The Buddha sat cross-legged beneath the Bodhi tree, his eyes serene and his presence commanding yet calm. Disciples gathered around him in silence, each seeking answers to the questions troubling their hearts. A young monk, Ananda, approached the Buddha with hesitant steps and a furrowed brow. "Master," Ananda began, his voice quivering, "I am tormented by the fear of the unknown future." The Buddha raised his hand, signaling Ananda to sit and listen patiently. "Ananda," the Buddha said, his voice like a gentle river, "let me tell you a story to ease your heart." The disciples leaned in closer, their curiosity piqued by the Buddha's intention to narrate a tale. "Why do I face suffering when my actions have been pure and virtuous?" he asked. The Buddha inclined his head slightly, as if weighing the gravity of the question. This traveler arrived at the edge of a vast jungle, dense and dark, with no visible paths to follow. The disciples imagined the towering trees, the impenetrable thicket, and the eerie silence of the jungle. "Master, I have heard of it but have not grasped its true meaning," the monk admitted. The Buddha gestured for him to sit, his movements fluid and purposeful. The Buddha continued. Despite their words, the traveler prepared himself with supplies and tools, determined to venture into the unknown. The story's unfolding seemed to mirror Ananda's inner turmoil about navigating the uncertainties of life. With each step into the jungle, the traveler felt fear grip his heart, but he kept moving. Step by step, the disciples exchanged glances, resonating with the traveler's courage to face the intimidating jungle. "Consider a farmer sowing seeds in a fertile field," the Buddha said, weaving a metaphor into his teaching. "Does the harvest come immediately upon planting?" he asked, his eyes scanning the gathering. "Eventually," the Buddha said. The traveler emerged from the jungle, finding a beautiful valley filled with abundant life and peace. The disciples felt a sense of relief and awe, as if they, too, had traversed the jungle and reached the valley. He returned to the villagers and told them, "The jungle is not to be feared but understood step by step." The Buddha paused, allowing the story's lesson to settle in the hearts of those who listened with bated breath. "Yet, know this," the Buddha continued, "the seeds you sow today shape the harvest of your tomorrow." His words carried both gravity and hope, resonating like a bell in the silent forest. "Master, how does one cultivate such courage to face life's unknown paths?" The Buddha looked deeply into Ananda's eyes and said, "Through mindfulness, understanding, and trust in the impermanent nature of all things." The disciples nodded, sensing the profound simplicity and depth of the Buddha's words. "Fear arises when we try to grasp what is beyond our control or comprehension," the Buddha elaborated. "But when we stay present and observe each step, the unknown becomes less formidable, and peace arises within us." "Master," Ananda asked, "what if the unknown brings suffering and hardship we cannot bear?" The Buddha smiled gently and replied, "Suffering is part of life, but so is the strength to endure and transform it." The disciples reflected on their own experiences, recognizing the truth in the Buddha's response. "Long ago, there was a merchant named Upali," he said, his voice steady and clear. Upali was wealthy but lacked wisdom, blinded by his own pride and desires. The disciples leaned in, their focus sharpening on the unfolding narrative. One day, a beggar approached Upali, seeking alms with humility and reverence. The Buddha continued. The disciples bowed in gratitude, their hearts filled with a renewed sense of courage and understanding. The golden light of the morning bathed the monastery as the Buddha's teachings resonated in the hearts of those present. The forest, alive with the songs of birds, seemed to echo the wisdom shared under the Bodhi tree. Ananda sat still, his fears quieted, ready to embrace the unknown with the strength imparted by his master. The other disciples dispersed slowly, each carrying the lesson of the jungle in their hearts. The Buddha remained beneath the tree, his presence a symbol of unwavering serenity amidst life's uncertainties. Another day, another moment in the tranquil monastery. The disciples gathered under the shade of ancient trees near the river. The Buddha, seated with calm dignity, observed the murmur of flowing water and the restless hearts around him. Ananda, still carrying fragments of uncertainty, approached the master and bowed deeply, seeking wisdom once more. "Master," Ananda said, his voice like the rippling stream, "I fear the storms of life will uproot my peace and resolve." The Buddha looked at Ananda, his eyes as steady as the river, and said, "Come, let me tell you a tale." The disciples leaned in, eager for the solace that Buddha's stories often brought to their troubled minds. Once, the Buddha began, there was a magnificent lotus that blossomed in the heart of a vast lake. His words painted a serene image in the minds of his followers, who pictured the delicate flower amid calm waters. The lotus grew anchored deep in the muddy soil, stretching toward the sunlight, untouched by the ripples above. Buddha continued. The disciples imagined the murky depth below, the lotus standing unyielding against currents that could shake lesser roots. One day, Buddha said, a fierce storm erupted, and the lake churned with raging waves that battered everything on the surface. Ananda listened intently, the storm reflecting the turbulence he felt within himself when uncertainty loomed large. Amid the chaos, the lotus remained steadfast, swaying but never losing its roots. Staying firm in the muddy depths, Buddha explained. The tale resonated with the disciples, who visualized the lotus enduring the storm's relentless fury without yielding to its power. Finally, the storm passed, and calm returned, revealing the lotus unharmed, standing in serene beauty amidst the tranquil waters. Ananda took a deep breath, feeling the strength in the story as though it poured directly into his heart. Disciples sat in attentive rows, their robes fluttering softly in the breeze. Among them, a Brahmin approached the Buddha, bowing deeply in respect. "Master," the Brahmin said, "I have lived by the rules of giving, yet my heart remains restless and unfulfilled." The Buddha, seated on a simple mat, observed the Brahmin with calm and steady eyes. The river's flow mirrored the continuity of Buddha's teachings as he spoke with unwavering grace. Just as the lotus trusts its roots to hold firm in the storm, so must the mind trust its mindful practice. Ananda spoke again, hesitating but determined. "Master, the storm shakes my thoughts, and I doubt my strength to endure its winds." Buddha replied, "Strength does not come from avoiding storms but from embracing their presence and finding resilience within yourself. The intention behind your actions shapes the fruits they bear," the Buddha said. The disciples leaned forward, sensing the depth of the lesson unfolding before them. Buddha continued, "When the wind howls and waves rise, observe the movement with acceptance, and you will find peace within chaos." His words flowed gently like the river, soothing the minds that had gathered to learn from him. Another man places a stone gently into the water, and the ripples form harmonious circles. The Brahmin's brow furrowed in thought, as he reflected on the analogy. The same stone, but different results. What determines this difference? The Buddha asked, guiding the Brahmin's contemplation. It is the force behind the action that alters its outcome. The Brahmin said, his voice carrying newfound understanding. The Buddha nodded, acknowledging the Brahmin's insight. "So it is with karma," the Buddha said. "The intention behind your deeds determines their weight and direction." The disciples exchanged quiet whispers, resonating with the wisdom imparted by their master, to deepen the Brahmin's understanding. The Buddha recounted the story of Kisa Gautami. Buddha remained under the shade, his presence an unshakable reminder of the peace found in mindful wisdom and acceptance. Another day. Another morning bathed in golden light. The Buddha and his disciples walked through a village marked by recent tragedy. The remnants of a great fire lay scattered, ashes and charred wood mingling with signs of resilience and renewal. The Buddha paused, observing a young woman who sifted through the ruins of her home, gathering fragments with careful hands. The disciples watched her with a mix of sorrow and admiration. Struck by her calm amidst loss, the Buddha approached the woman and asked gently, "What occupies your heart as you hold these broken pieces in your hands?" She looked up at the master, her face serene despite the devastation around her. "Master," she said, her voice steady, "I grieve for what is lost, but I also honor what remains and what can still arise." The Buddha nodded, his gaze filled with understanding and compassion. As he turned to address his disciples, "Life is like this fire," the Buddha began, his voice calm yet powerful. "It consumes, it transforms, and it leaves behind ashes." The disciples listened intently, their hearts heavy with the weight of impermanence but also open to the Master's wisdom. "We fear uncertainty," the Buddha continued, "because we crave permanence in a world that is, by its nature, ever-changing." His words resonated deeply, touching the core of their struggles with the transient nature of existence. The Buddha pointed to a small sprout emerging from the ashen ground, vibrant green against the gray desolation. "Yet within impermanence," he said, "lies renewal. As life continues to unfold, even amidst destruction and loss." The disciples followed his gaze, marveling at the resilience of life, at its ability to emerge anew from the ruins. To embrace impermanence is to see both the endings and beginnings. To accept that loss paves the way for growth, Buddha explained. Ananda stepped forward, his voice tinged with hesitation. "Master," he asked, "how do we let go of our clinging to what is gone, to what we have lost?" The Buddha regarded him with warmth and replied, "By understanding that clinging binds us to suffering, while acceptance frees us to embrace the present moment." His words flowed like the river they had visited days before, carrying both truth and comfort to those who heard them. "The woman before you grieves," Buddha said, gesturing toward her, "but she does not let grief consume her. She also cherishes." The woman continued her task, her movements embodying the balance between mourning and hope, between loss and renewal. "She gathers fragments not out of desperation," Buddha continued, "but to rebuild, to honor what was while creating what can be." As the gathering concluded, the forest seemed to breathe alongside the disciples, harmonizing with the truths revealed. The air carried the weight of wisdom, resonating within the hearts of all who listened. The disciples began to see impermanence not as a force to resist but as a natural rhythm to flow with. When we resist change, we invite suffering. When we accept it, we find peace, Buddha explained, his tone filled with assurance. Ananda nodded slowly, the fog of uncertainty within him beginning to lift as understanding took root. The Buddha then shared a story, his voice weaving a tapestry of insight and reflection. The Buddha sat in serene composure, his presence radiating peace and wisdom. The disciples arranged themselves in a semicircle, their faces reflecting eager anticipation. One day, a customer lamented the breaking of a cherished pot, mourning its loss as if it had been eternal. The Buddha paused, allowing the image to settle in their minds before continuing. The Buddha gazed at the monk, his expression gentle yet penetrating. "Your question touches the core of existence," the Buddha said. "The potter did not grieve the breaking of his pots," Buddha explained, "for he understood their nature, their purpose, and their impermanence." The story resonated with the disciples, offering them a lens through which to view their own attachments and fears. The Buddha turned to Ananda and said, "Like the potter, understand that all things arise and pass, fulfilling their purpose in their time." Ananda bowed his head, feeling a mixture of humility and gratitude as the lesson deepened his perspective. "Let go of the illusion of permanence," the Buddha said, "and you will find liberation from the chains of fear and sorrow." The disciples felt a collective release, as if a great weight had been lifted from their hearts and minds. As the sun climbed higher, casting its warm light over the village, the woman stood and smiled gently at the Buddha. "Thank you, Master," she said, her voice filled with quiet strength, "for reminding me of the life that still remains." The Buddha bowed slightly to her, honoring her resilience and the lesson her actions had imparted to his disciples. "Let her be an example to you all," Buddha said, "of how to live amidst impermanence with grace and courage." The disciples left the village with lighter steps, their hearts enriched by the profound teachings of their master. The Buddha walked among them, his presence a guiding light as they continued their journey toward understanding and enlightenment. The ruins of the village faded into the distance, yet the lessons learned there remained vivid and enduring in their minds. The path before them, though uncertain, now felt less daunting, illuminated by the wisdom they had received. The forest welcomed them back with the sound of rustling leaves and birdsong. As if nature itself celebrated their growth, the Buddha paused once more, looking at his disciples with a serene smile, his silence a testament to the depth of his teachings. The monks leaned closer, captivated by the transformative power of the encounter. "Struck by the purity of my presence," Angulimala fell to his knees. Weeping in surrender, the Buddha continued. "Master," Angulimala had pleaded, "can I escape the weight of my karma and find freedom?" The disciples awaited the Buddha's reply with bated breath, as if sharing in Angulimala's moment of transformation. "Abandon the notion of self," the Buddha had told Angulimala, "and you will be free." Thank you for watching. Buddha's teachings are always with you. Subscribe to our channel and we will see you in the next video.